We continue with our discussion of how do you know that someone is Jewish for marriage purposes, for all purposes, for accepting them in the community, but especially for marriage, right? A person gets married, but how do you know that your chassan or kal is Jewish, And this has been a big issue recently that I've been personally involved with. So let's try to get down, there's a lot of hype in the media, and the media includes anything which is pretty much on the internet. There was a blast on the internet about a certain fact, which I checked it up, was a complete checker. I spoke to the person who was supposedly said it, and he said, La'adam, La'adam me'olam. So let's go straight to Chazal. Let's go to Gemara, Rishonim, Poskim, and let's see what they have to say. Right? L'maisa, let's start with the Torah. The Torah says it's a pasuk in Vayikra. It's a pasuk in Vayikra. Where is it? It's Yud. I'll tell you exactly where it is because we did not make the Marmakamos, but it's in the Gemara in Yevamos Daf Mem Vav Amud Beis. It says Itra. Itra. Oh, it says yes. Vayikra Yud Tes pasuk Lamed Gimel Lamed Dalet. V'kigor Itcha Ger B'Artzachem. Lo son so. When a ger lives with you in your land, don't afflict him with words. And then it continues. He should be like a citizen, right? Itchem v'ahavtalo kamocha kiger meisav Mitzrayim ani yashel keichem. Because you also ger, so treat him equally. From that, the Gemara learns out from the itcha that again, what exactly is the implication of itcha? But it says that he's muchzak. Itcha. I guess it means like he's like you, right? Like you. How does a ger be like a Jew, right? If he doesn't have a chazaka, if he's not muksuk, there's always maybe like a pickbook on his Judaism, right? But if he's muksuk to be a ger, then he's a ger like everybody else, right? Like the Parsuk says at the end, because you were also ger, when you were in Mitzrayim. Okay, so that's the that's what Parsuk says. Agav, they have a new parasha in Rabbeinu and Bar Ilan called Rabbeinu Miyuchas. They don't exactly know who he is, but he's Miyuchas. And he says the second pasuk is talking about Chutz La'aretz. The first pasuk is talking about Eretz Yisrael. The second pasuk is talking about Chutz La'aretz. Al Kapanim, we have a Gemara in Yevamos Daf Mem Vav Amud Beis. Mem Vav Amud Beis. We have a machlokas. Yeah, we have a machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim about what do you need, right, to believe that somebody's Jewish. What do you believe someone's Jewish? Right? So the Gemara says there that according to Rabbi Yehuda, right, Be'eretz Yisrael, you need a raya, and Chutz La'aretz, you don't need a raya. Very interesting. We're more machmer, David, here. We're more machmer in Eretz Yisrael than in Chutz La'aretz. More machmer in Eretz Yisrael than in Chutz La'aretz. Comes along and says, no, Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz, it's the same thing. In both places, being in Eretz Yisrael, being in Chutz La'aretz, you have to bring a raya. That's why it's quite surprising when the Rambam comes along and paskins it in Perek Yud Aleph, Halacha Gimel, B'Surah Bia, that, as the Ravid asks, he says, in Eretz Yisrael, we believe you without a raya, and Chutz La'aretz, you need a raya. Ask the Ravid, it doesn't work according to the Chacham, it doesn't work according to Yehuda, like, who's it going like? Okay, so comes the Migdal Oz, one of the Gedoli Mufarshim on the Rambam, and he says, I found a Yerushalmi, a Gemara Yerushalmi. I told you somebody was trying to figure out what to do with their phone on Erev Shabbos at the coastline. I said, put it behind Yerushalmi. I've left many things behind Yerushalmi, and it doesn't move too much because most people don't learn the Yerushalmi, right? Yeah, I know. Now everyone's going to look there for my wallet. Anyway, but the point is like this. The point is not don't money it. Don't worry about it. The point is only bills. Everybody's welcome to take them if they want. The point is like this. There is a check for $1 million, but it's covered in plastic. It won't help you. The point is like this. The point is the Migdal Oz brings a Maseches Gerim or Maseches Kusim. Yeah, it's Perek Daled Halach Hey. Very interesting shtickle over there, Mishnah. It says Chavivim Eretz Yisrael she machsheres begerim, right? Machsheres begerin. Homer Eretz Yisrael gerani makablim, and Chutz La'aretz we don't believe, right? And then the Maseches Gerim continues. Eretz Yisrael is mechaperes avonos v'al pshoyim, right? So Eretz Yisrael is a special place. We know this week's Parsha Shlach. Yeah, you have to be very careful about Eretz Yisrael, not to say lashon hara about Eretz Yisrael, and you're holding hug in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, when Rav Sternbach came to Eretz Yisrael, he passed through France. And Rav Mordechai Pragamansky, he said, "No, are you ready for Eretz Yisrael?" He said, "Yeah, I have my suitcase, I have my clothing." He said, "Eretz Yisrael, yeah, I got my ticket, I got my passport, ready for Eretz Yisrael." And he started thinking, what is he asking me exactly? So he was quiet. He said, "In Eretz Yisrael, you can't speak lashon hara. You have to be very careful about your makshavas. You have to be careful to be b'taira. It's a different Eretz Yisrael." So that's Chaviv Eretz Yisrael. So says the Migdol, this is the source of the Rambam. The Rambam learned from this Maseches Gerim, that we're more Mekel in Eretz Yisrael than in Chutz La'aretz. Okay, Hayot now, until now, right? Somebody comes to us and says, I'm a ger, right? I want to marry your daughter, right? So, if we go with the Gemara, they've been dating for a little while. If we go with the Gemara, it's a machlokas reviewed in the Chamim. The Chamim say you always need a raya. Reviewed says in Eretz Yisrael you need a raya, and the Rambam, based on Maseches Gerim, says that in Chutz La'aretz you need a raya. So you have three possibilities, right? You have three possibilities. Okay, so let's try to figure out what the halacha is going to be over there, right? Because you have all options, right? Either you always need a raya, you need a raya for Eretz Yisrael, you need a raya for Chutz La'aretz, right? So any permutation right now that we go with is going to be, someone's going to hold. You need a raya, right? And again, remember, the pasuk said itcha. You need to be muchsak in l'cha. The question is, where does that apply? Does it apply in Eretz Yisrael? Does it apply in Chutz La'aretz? Or does it apply in both places, right? So you remember last week's shir, we had a Tosos here. We had a Gemara in Psachim, Daf Gimel, that a goy came along and said, you know what? I go to Eretz Yisrael every Pesach and I eat the Korban Pesach. So they said to him, well, you eat the tail fat? Tail fat? No. Tell them you want tail fat. And they killed him, right? So Lamaisa, Tosos brings a raya from here that in Eretz Yisrael, right, you believe. And what's the reason why? What's the reason why we believe you, especially in Eretz Yisrael? Anybody remember? Oh, that's right. Eretz Yisrael, well, first of all, Tosos says, because most people in Eretz Yisrael are Yidden, especially by the regal, right? Okay, that's one reason. But Tosos later on in Yevamos says a different reason. He says, no, Lamaisa, there's a chazaka. There's a chazaka that someone says he's a Jew, he's believed, And Ramosha takes this on halach lamaisa, Moshe takes this on halach lamaisa by a couple who was a non-religious couple, right? And lamaisa, they said they're Jewish, so we believe you, right? Because Ramosha says people don't say they're Jewish unless they're really Jewish because it's very unpopular status today. It's a very unpopular status. By the way, I was in Beis Din this week regarding this case, and the Dayan there told me, he said times have changed. Eretz Yisrael has a good economy, right? And there are certain rights you can have here if you're Jewish, right? So it is in vogue. It is in vogue today for people to say they're Jewish, right? Even if they might not be, because of the financial benefits, right? What? Even in Chutz La'aretz. Community. Okay. Whether in Eretz Yisrael, whether in Chutz La'aretz. So we have to don this up. It's not going to be so simple. What you said for marriage purposes might be less simple? It might even be less simple because maybe he wants to marry a Jewish girl. Maybe he wants to marry a Jewish girl. Okay. Anyway, we're coming off here the lumdus and the background understanding, right? So one thing, we know you need a chazaka, right? We have a big machlokas between Yehuda the Chamim and Maseches Gerim, a third Tana, right? Is that dafka in Chutz La'aretz? Is it dafka in Eretz Yisrael? Is it in both places, or is it also in dafka in Eretz Yisrael? Or is it dafka in Eretz Yisrael according to Yehuda, according to Chamim, it's in both places, and according to Maseches Gerim, only in Chutz La'aretz you need it, right? So, and then we said, so why is Eretz Yisrael different, right? Why would Eretz Yisrael be more believed than in Chutz La'aretz? So that is because we're over near Eretz Yisrael. That's one answer. Another answer could be no, that everybody is believed that they are Jewish, whether in Eretz Yisrael or whether in Chutz La'aretz, because you don't make that statement unless you're really Jewish. Okay. So how do we paskin here? So what's Pshat in Maseches Ger? Why is it that there's more reason to need chazaka outside of Eretz Israel? Yeah, no, there's more reason to need a chazaka outside of Ger, to need to make a chazaka outside, right? So, Lamaisa, we said last week, we said there's a Chuvas of Rambam. The Rambam says because the Bati Dinim in Eretz Yisrael was stronger, right? The Bati Dinim in Eretz Yisrael was stronger. I shouldn't say stronger. They were Mitzuyim. They were Bati Dinim in Eretz Yisrael. Outside of Eretz Yisrael, there weren't so many Bati Dinim in Egypt and Spain, wherever the Rambam found himself. So because there were more Bati Dinim, yeah, because there were more Bati Dinim, we assumed that the Chazaka was a good Chazaka. What? That was then.
The feast day, nowadays it would depend.
Okay, so now it would Mitzvah. So you're right. There's a lot of Bati Dinim in Eretz Yisrael. There's a lot of Bati Dinim in Chutz, right? So if we take things at face value, then there's no difference between Eretz Yisrael and Chutz, and that's what the Bach and the Shach Taka say. Yeah, it says the minhag today is that whether in Eretz Yisrael, whether in Chutz La'aretz, if a person has a chazaka that he's a ger, then we believe him that he's a ger. Yeah? Right. It's not because he's a ger. Right? Okay. Now, one second. This is all talking about somebody, by the way, right? And Rav Moshe brings out this point, and other Rishonim bring out this point. It's all talking about someone who doesn't have a cheskes goy. Yeah. But if someone comes to us, why? Because he has a migu. Migu that he could say of a Jew, so we believe him to say he's a ger. Yeah. What if somebody doesn't have a cheskes, has a cheskes nachri? He comes and he says he's Jewish. We don't believe him. Okay. So this is the background information. Okay. So now, based on this, we're saying today, based on the Shach and the Bach, right, that today we go not like the Rambam, we go like the Chachamim. Yeah, there's no difference between Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz. Today, they're Bati Dinim in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz La'aretz, they're Mitzuyim. Yeah, so seemingly anybody who's acting like a ger in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz La'aretz, we should believe them that they're Jewish and let them get married without testimony, without aid. Okay, comes along. That would be like, okay, so we could close our case and go home, right?
The Shita Sabbath can't look at their psak.
Why?
He said psak is for your mom. What is it nowadays?
Okay, so again,
reevaluating that. So it could be nowadays that means international.
It could be after this year, maybe everything's going to change, right? Because comes along the Aruch HaShulchan and makes a very important point, right? And this is really, there was a kollel that they spent 2 years or 3 years learning about Hilchos Shchita, and then after 3 years, someone asked, "So what's a cow?" Have you ever seen a cow before? What are we talking about? Okay, it's always important to know the Metzias, what is going on. Right? Comes along the Aruch HaShulchan and says, for sure, definitely, if you could check the story and find out, a chazaka is something we rely on. The Rambam writes in Parashah Mishnayos, a chazaka is something we rely on when we don't know. But if you could find out, then you have to check. Now today, it's a lot easier to find out information today than it was 50, 100, 200, 1,000, 2,000 years ago. Yeah, there's lots and lots of sources of information which can be checked. So we have a klal, kol heiche de'ika levuri mivarinan. As long as you can clarify more, you have to clarify, right? So therefore, basically, as the Chazon Ish writes many times, nafal pita babira, right? The bread fell into the hole, or the guy got run over by a car, if we're going to talk in Chai Sivan terminology, right? L'maisa, all of the discussion we just had, chazaka, not chazaka, Eretz Yisrael, not Eretz Yisrael, right? Muksuk, not muksuk, it's basically going to fall to the wayside, because today you have to check, right? Is the guy really Jewish? When I got married 31 years ago, yeah? We went to the Badatz and they needed very strict evidence that you're really Jewish. And that's the way really a Jewish marriage should be done. Yeah? Prove that you're Jewish. Bring us some definite proof that you're Jewish before you get married. I know Rav Sternbach told me a number of times he made weddings, and he checked the grandparents, and the grandmother wasn't Jewish. They had to do a gerus before the wedding. Yeah, so check into it. Kol heichi tikel leburi mavrinin. It is true that they're badi dinim today, right? It is true that they're mitzuyim, but it is also true that you could check easily. So you can check easily. So now you have to check. So now,
and they can check.
no. In other words, even though there's badi dinim mitzuyim, and you would not technically need it, the Rama writes, right? Technically speaking, right? If somebody is muchzak to be a ger, if somebody is keeping Torah and mitzvahs, and he's muchzak to be a ger, that should be enough. We should close the story. We should close the story, right? Halacha l'maisa, according to the Bach and the Shach, if somebody is living as a Jew for a number of years, yeah, and he's putting on talis and tefillin, he's davening yamin, he's eating kashrus, etc., yeah, that's chazaka.
You don't have to say kol because it's not a
No, but we'd still say kol if there's no way to find out, right? But today, that it's not difficult to find out who his parents are, where he's from, who is Rav, what shul did he daven at, what shul did he daven at, like, did he just drop down from the sky, right? So now you have to find out, yeah? This being the case, right, before someone is Mesader Kedushin, right, we know the Gemara in Gittin says, right, in Kedushin, in fact, yeah, that Kol mi she'en yodei b'tiv, Gittin helps Gittin Kedushin, lo ye'isik b'hem, right? If you don't know it really, really well, the halachas of Gittin Kedushin, you should not get involved with this Meksoya, yeah, because Eishes Ish is one of the most chomer averas in the whole Torah, right? So you stay away from it. So it comes out today that before a person is Mesader Kedushin, he should not, again, if possible, right, he should rely on the chazakas. Now, if we're talking about, the Belzer Rebbe's daughter with the who else? The Vizhnitz, who marries each other these days? The Vizhnitz Rebbe's son. They're all right together. Yeah. What? They're going. Yeah. Yeah. So you can understand, right? They're muchas all the way back to the Baal Shem Tov and always all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? Right. Yeah, that's moving me'elav, right? We don't have to check. That's well known, right? But if Yankel, comes from, A, and, Shmankel comes from B, you know who Yankel is? You don't know who Shmankel is. They just turn up at your house, at your doorstep, and say, we want to get married. So before you marry these two people, you have to make sure that the woman is really Jewish and that the man is really Jewish and that you're doing a Jewish wedding. And you're not putting a non-Jewish man with a Jewish woman or a non-Jewish woman with a Jewish man. Yeah. Now, how far does this go? Right? How far does this go? How far do you take this? Yeah. How do you determine that someone's really Jewish or not Jewish? Okay. These are issues which I'm becoming more and more acquainted with. Right. Of course, there is letters from Rabbanim. We're somech on Rabbanim. We're somech on maybe the ksuba of the parents. We're somech on other rayas. Right. Today there's a discussion. What about DNA? Yeah. I just became familiarized with this. How much does DNA play? Again, any one area is not going to make a chazaka gemura, right? Everyone is like raglayim ladavar, as we say. It's giving us like a hint and a direction, right? But as much clarity as we get. Chazaka means status quo. If a person has been coming to shul, eating kashrus, putting on talis and tefillin, coming to Daf Yomi Shir every day for the past 5 years, we generally assume he's Jewish. My chavrusa just told me now there was a baba in Sfas for 10 years, right? And after 10 years, they found out he was an Arab. He was giving out brachas. He was telling people to keep kashrus, to keep Shabbos, yeah. And it was a parnasa. He was doing it for the money, right? And they said afterwards, yeah, look, I have to tell them something. So I told them. So, we have to be very, very careful today. As was pointed out to me, Rav Moshe writes in his tshuva, which was 50, 60, 70 years ago, right, that anybody who says they're Jewish should believe them because nobody in the right mind would say they're Jewish and they're not really Jewish. Today, times have changed. Today, right, their rights to be in Eretz Yisrael, a person can live in a religious community and it could be very nice. They could take care of you, gemachim, and tachtan sorchim, chesed, right? It's gishmak, right? What does it say? Rav Moshe said it. Usver shezayin yid was the fall of American Jewry, right? And there's a new song, right? Kishmak, it's Kishmak to be a Jew. Yeah, something like that, right?
Doesn't work.
It's Kishmak to be a Yid. So look, it's catching on in the world today. You know, I saw a few years ago, maybe it was more than a few years ago, there was a style, you know, for women to be wearing like Hasidic clothes, you know, with the towels and things like that. So, you know, maybe wearing a shtreimel, I don't know exactly what. These things are popular today. So you have to be really, really careful before you're a Masada Kedushin. Check very, very well. Again, how do you check? You know, get in touch with people. And don't believe anybody. Don't believe anybody, not even your grandmother or your mother or anybody else. You know, you have to look really, really well and clarify as much as possible. Ad Shiada Mugas. You want to know, Kol Ika Livuri Mivarina and Marina. It's not so hard, right? It's not so hard. Because if you go back to...
It's Yerushalmi family, right? He's a great grandson of David Baran. How much do we have to look in?
Okay, look.
We know who you. Oh, you're a son of him and him.
Right. Okay. Once you're miyuchas after, you know, Rav David Baran or any Gedolei Tzaddikim, much less checking. We're talking more about somebody who just shows up, you know, from what's it, Hoopus, you know, Hoopusville, you know, and says, "I'm here, I'm Jewish," you know. So you have to be very, very careful, you know, as we see here. Okay, so Tein l'chacham v'yakim oid v'novan dapulas yikne, right? Anybody who is thinking of getting into the miksoah of marrying people off to be Masada Kedushin, yeah, and certainly Masada Gittin, right? You have to know these halachas really, really well. Don't do anything without consulting your local Orthodox dayan, and maybe that'll be you. B'ezrat Hashem, everyone should have a tzlacha bracha and siyata d'shmaya. Amen. Kein Ratzon.